What if the ultimate act of disrespect, the casual toss of your heart's work into a garbage can, turned out to be the greatest gift you ever received? Because that's exactly what happened to me one Christmas morning. The morning light, usually a gentle promise, felt sharp and unforgiving, cutting through the thin air of our apartment. I'd made Chloe breakfast, our Christmas tree twinkling, but a different kind of chill was settling in, one that had nothing to do with winter. I'm Ethan, 37, and my hands, these hands, they don't just work with what you find at a big box store. We're talking museum-quality pieces, intricate hand-carved inlays, rare hardwoods that whisper stories. This isn't just a hobby. It's a craft that takes hundreds of hours, pieces that sell for thousands when they're done right. I've been doing this for 15 years, and honestly, I'm damn good at it. Chloe and I had been together for 3 years. She worked in finance, had that corporate shine, a sleek downtown apartment, and expensive taste. To her, working with your hands was what you did if you couldn't land a real job. She'd throw out these little comments, nothing huge, just enough to sting. Like when her friends asked what I did, she'd say I was figuring things out or between projects. Never artist. Never craftsman. Just vague enough to imply I was essentially unemployed. I let it slide because I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Maybe I just got comfortable being treated like I wasn't quite enough, like my work didn't matter because it lacked a corporate salary and benefit package. For Christmas, I wanted to make something truly special. Something that screamed how much I cared, something utterly unique that no store could ever offer. I spent 3 months on a jewelry box. Walnut and maple, two of the most beautiful hardwoods. Every surface was alive with hand-carved details, inlays that caught the light, shifting with every glance. I designed hidden compartments with magnetic locks, the kind of craftsmanship where joints are invisible, surfaces smooth as glass. The kind of piece you'd see in a high-end gallery, priced with a 5-figure tag. And tucked away inside the main secret compartment? A delicate silver and moonstone pendant, meaningful, beautiful, something I was certain she'd adore. I worked late into the nights for weeks, my hands calloused, but it felt worth it. More than worth it. Christmas morning arrived, perfect and bright. Tree, lights, candles, and I'd made her favorite, Eggs Benedict. I handed her the wrapped box. The moment her fingers touched it, her face fell. I saw it, that instant flash of disappointment, like a kid hoping for a console and getting socks. She picked up the jewelry box like it was something she'd dug out of a thrift store, turning it over in her hands. She didn't even see it. Not the meticulous inlays, the hidden seams, the way the grain flowed seamlessly. She asked, her voice laced with that familiar, cutting edge, "Is it handmade? Why isn't it from Tiffany?" Like I'd personally insulted her by not spending enough, as if the hours, the skill, the soul I poured into it meant nothing compared to a brand name. I tried to explain, told her about the months of work, the thought, the secret compartments she hadn't found, the special something hidden inside. But she wasn't listening. She just stood up, walked into the kitchen, and I heard it. The trash can lid open, then that hollow thud as it closed. I sat there, stunned, unable to process what had just happened. Then, from the other room, I heard her laughing on the phone. She told whoever was on the other end that I'd given her a wooden craft project for Christmas, like something from a high school shop class. Then she said it. The words that broke something inside me. I don't want handmade junk. Junk, after 3 months, hundreds of hours, a piece of my very soul carved into wood. It hit different. Something snapped quietly, like a thread. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. What was the point? She'd made her position perfectly clear. I just walked into the kitchen, pulled the jewelry box out of the trash, and wiped off the coffee grounds clinging to its beautiful surface. It still smelled faintly of cinnamon from the candles. The wood felt cool and solid in my hands, more real than anything Chloe had said to me in months. I rewrapped it, put it in my car, and drove straight to Sarah's gallery downtown. Sarah owned the place. I'd sold a few smaller pieces through her before, but she knew my work, knew what I was capable of. When I walked in, she saw it immediately. Something was terribly wrong. I probably looked like hell. I handed her the box without a word. She unwrapped it carefully, her hands moving slowly, respectfully, over the surface, feeling the grain, the inlays, the seamless joints, the way only a true craftsperson can appreciate another's work. She found the hidden compartment, the one Chloe never bothered to look for, opened it, and her eyes went wide when she saw the pendant. "Ethan," she breathed, "this is museum-level work. This isn't just a jewelry box. It's an art piece, a complete story." She examined it again, every angle, every detail, then said, "I need to call Mark." Mark was the independent appraiser she worked with, the kind of guy who handled high-end estate sales and gallery acquisitions, the real deal. He arrived an hour later, looked at the box for 20 minutes in absolute silence. Just examined it, opened and closed compartments, felt its weight and balance. Finally, he looked at Sarah and said, "This could easily sell for $12,000, maybe even $15,000 if we find the right buyer." Sarah nodded thoughtfully, then looked at me. "I want to price it at $10,500 for my New Year's collection, as a luxury holiday art piece. That creates urgency for serious collectors, reflects its true value, and we'll do a 60-40th split, with you getting the 60%. I just stood there, trying to process it. $10, $500. For the junk Chloe threw in the trash. For the gift she didn't even fully open. For the pendant she never saw. Sarah must have seen the disbelief on my face, because she gently placed a hand on my arm. "Whoever didn't appreciate this," she said softly, "didn't deserve your work." I could only nod. My voice was gone. 3 days later, the jewelry box was in the gallery window, front and center. A spotlight illuminated it, and professional photographs showcased every detail. A small placard declared it a luxury holiday art piece, with an elegant script displaying the price, $10,500. Right there on the main street for everyone to see. I didn't tell Chloe. Didn't send a picture. I just let it sit there, letting fate do its thing. And fate, it seems, has a wicked sense of humor. 3 days after it went into the window, Chloe saw it. She was walking back from lunch with coworkers, probably discussing some corporate deal, when she passed Hendrik's gallery. I wasn't there, but Sarah told me later. Chloe stopped dead in her tracks, like she'd seen a ghost. She stood there, staring at the window for a solid 5 minutes. Sarah watched from inside, saw her face cycle through 10 different emotions, confusion, then recognition, shock, and finally, something that looked like panic. Chloe pressed her face against the glass, studying the inlays, the wood grain, and then she saw the price tag, $10,500. Sarah said Chloe's hand flew to her mouth. She just shook her head, unable to believe it. And then she saw the pendant inside, the one she never bothered to find, hidden in the secret compartment, because she was too busy being disappointed. My phone blew up about 20 minutes later. Text after frantic text, all caps. She demanded to know what her jewelry box was doing in a gallery window. Why it had that price tag. Why I never told her it was worth that much. She claimed it was hers, that I'd given it to her for Christmas, that I had no right to sell it without her permission. I let the messages pile up, watching them come in. There was a quiet, satisfying certainty in knowing she finally understood what she'd thrown away. When I finally replied, I kept it simple, cold. The handmade junk found someone who appreciates it. She showed up at my apartment that evening. I could hear her coming, her heels clicking aggressively down the hallway, that furious walk she did. She knocked, and when I opened the door, she pushed past me without an invitation. The yelling started immediately. What the hell was I thinking? Why had I put her gift in a gallery? I'd embarrassed her in front of everyone who might see it. I just stood there, letting her burn through all that anger, because I knew what was coming next. Sure enough, after about 5 minutes, her tone shifted. Mid-sentence, she took a breath, her voice suddenly soft. She said maybe she'd overreacted on Christmas, that she didn't really mean what she said, that the jewelry box was actually beautiful now that she thought about it. I almost laughed. The switch was so obvious, so calculated. She wasn't sorry about hurting me. She was sorry about losing out on $10,000. She sat on my couch like she owned the place, crossed her legs, and attempted that smile she used when she wanted something. She started talking about our 3 years together, how she'd supported my work even when it wasn't making money, how she'd let me use her apartment as a workspace. Then she said it, the line I knew was coming. "I think I deserve a share of the sale, don't you?" She tried to make it sound reasonable, common sense even. Mentioned that technically it had been a gift to her, so legally, she might have a claim. And besides, we were a team. The fact that she'd already thought about the legal angle and prepared this whole speech told me everything I needed to know. I explained to her, very calmly, that she'd thrown it away. Called it junk. Forfeited any claim the moment it hit the bottom of that trash can. I told her the jewelry box was mine now, my work, my art, and whatever happened with it was my business. She didn't like that answer. Her face hardened, and she went back to being angry. Said I was petty and vindictive, that I was punishing her for one mistake. One mistake, as if those 3 years of little comments and put-downs didn't matter. As if Christmas morning was just a tiny slip-up. I didn't argue. I just asked her to leave. After a few more minutes of trying to guilt me, she finally did. The jewelry box sold 2 days later. A private collector specializing in artisan furniture and functional art, the kind of guy who had more money than he knew what to do with. He paid the full asking price, $10,500. Didn't even try to negotiate. Sarah called me that afternoon, her voice brimming with excitement. The check would be ready in a few days. And the collector wanted to know if I had more pieces available. I told her I'd need some time, but yes, I had ideas. She said he was already interested in commissioning something custom, thinking around $12,000 for a larger piece, maybe a desk or a display cabinet. $12,000 for a single commission. More than I'd made in the last 6 months combined. My cut from the jewelry box sale was $6,300 after the gallery's percentage. It was the most money I'd ever made from a single piece. I deposited that check, and for the first time in years, I didn't have to worry about rent, or materials, or whether I could afford to keep doing what I loved. A few days after the sale, Chloe texted again, saying she needed to talk, that she wanted to meet for coffee. I ignored it. She texted again the next day, suggesting we put the relationship on pause for a while, that she needed space to think. I knew what she was doing. Knew she expected me to panic, to beg her not to leave, to promise I'd change. Instead, I just replied with one word, okay. That wasn't the response she wanted. The next text came fast. Is that really all you have to say? You don't want to fight for us. I didn't respond. For the next week, she kept trying, texting, calling. I watched it happen from a distance, like I was observing someone else's drama. Then she showed up at my apartment again. This time, she wasn't angry. She was crying. She said she'd been thinking about everything, that she realized she'd made a mistake, that she'd taken me for granted. She wanted to try again, claimed she'd changed, that she understood now what my work meant to me. She was saying all the right things, hitting every emotional note. And if this had been a month earlier, I might have believed her. But I asked her one question. If the jewelry box had sold for $50 instead of $10,000, would you be here right now? She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. I saw the truth in her eyes before she even tried to lie. She stammered something about how that wasn't the point, how it was about us and our relationship. But we both knew it was exactly the point. She didn't care about me, or my work, or the gift I'd poured my heart into. She cared about what it was worth, about being associated with success, instead of what she saw as failure. I told her we were done, truly done, and she needed to leave. She stood there for a moment, weighing whether to cry harder or get angry. She chose angry. Said I was making a huge mistake, that I was throwing away something great, that I'd regret this when I was alone and struggling again. I closed the door while she was still talking. Over the next few weeks, things started changing fast. The collector's commission came through, $12,000 for a custom display cabinet with glass shelving and hidden LED lighting. Sarah introduced me to 2 other galleries that wanted to carry my work. An arts and culture magazine did a piece on local artisans making museum-quality functional art, and somehow, I ended up in it, a full-page photo of the jewelry box with a quote about how craftsmanship was becoming a lost art. My phone started ringing with inquiries, people wanting custom pieces, galleries wanting meetings, interior designers asking about my availability. For the first time in my career, I had more work than I could handle. I started looking at studio spaces, places where I could work and display a few pieces. I found one in an old warehouse district being converted into artist lofts. The rent was more than I'd ever paid, but with commissions coming in and a waiting list forming, I could actually afford it. 2 months after the breakup, I signed the lease on my studio space, setting up what would become my first real workshop and gallery combined. It was in a renovated warehouse on the east side, exposed brick, huge windows, perfect natural light. Bigger than I needed, but I had plans. And for the first time in my life, I could see a future doing what I loved without constantly worrying about money. I spent weeks getting the space ready, building workbenches, installing proper lighting, setting up a small display area near the front. Sarah helped me connect with other artists in the building. There was this incredible creative energy, a sense of support rather than competition. The magazine article brought in more attention than I expected. My website, dormant for years, suddenly saw serious traffic. People emailed about commissions, price ranges, wanting to see more work. I was getting requests for everything from jewelry boxes to full dining room tables. I had to start turning people down or pushing timelines out 6 months because I couldn't keep up. That's when Rachel came into the picture. She was a marketing consultant specializing in helping artists and small creative businesses build their brands. She reached out after seeing the magazine article. She loved my work, thought I was seriously undercharging, and insisted I needed better presentation and a real strategy for growth if I wanted to make this sustainable. We met for coffee. I expected a corporate pitch about social media metrics and brand synergy, but instead, she just asked me about my process, what inspired me, why I chose wood. She got it, in a way Chloe never did. She understood that the work itself was the point, not just the money it could make. We started working together. She completely transformed how I presented myself. She redid my website, making it professional with high-quality photos against clean backgrounds, writing descriptions that made the work sound as special as it truly was, without being pretentious. She set up my Instagram, taught me how to document my process, showing the hours of work, the planning, the mistakes, the problem-solving. She connected me with a photographer specializing in artisan work, and we did a whole shoot of my existing pieces, plus the new commission. Within a month, my following went from basically 0 to over 5,000, half of them serious collectors and interior designers with money to spend. Rachel also helped me prepare for my studio opening. I planned it as a small thing, just friends and people from the building. But she convinced me to make it an actual event. She reached out to local art blogs, invited journalists from the magazine that featured me, made sure the other galleries I worked with knew about it, and even got a local wine bar to sponsor drinks. The night of the opening, I was nervous as hell, worried no one would show up. But within the first hour, the place was packed. Collectors, other artists, magazine folks, even a few interior designers who'd driven in from out of town. Sarah came, bringing some of her gallery clients. I sold 3 pieces that night, including one I'd just finished that morning, a walnut writing desk with secret compartments that went for $8,000. And then Chloe showed up. I didn't expect it. She stood outside for a while. I could see her through the window, just watching the crowd, the success, everything she told me would never happen. She looked different, tired, maybe, or just less put together than usual, like she hadn't been sleeping well. She didn't come in. Didn't try to talk to me. Just stood there for about 10 minutes, then left. Part of me felt a flicker of something, but mostly, I just felt nothing. She was part of a different life, a version of myself that didn't exist anymore. I'd moved so far past that person that seeing her was like looking at an old photograph of someone I used to know. Rachel saw her too. Asked if I was okay. And I realized I was. More than okay. I was genuinely happy, for the first time in years. Rachel and I started spending more time together outside of work. It happened gradually, naturally, without any of the pressure or judgment that had defined my relationship with Chloe. We'd meet for coffee to discuss marketing strategy and end up talking for hours about art, life, and what truly mattered. She'd come by the studio sometimes just to watch me work, said she found the process meditative, the way the wood changed under my hands. She'd sit quietly in the corner, reading or sketching, while I carved and sanded. One day, I made her a small wooden pendant. Nothing elaborate, just a simple cherrywood leaf with a leather cord. I gave it to her almost as a joke, said it was payment for all her help. She actually teared up. She said it was the most thoughtful gift anyone had ever given her, that she'd treasure it forever. And she wore it every single day after that. Never took it off. The contrast wasn't lost on me. Chloe had thrown away a museum-quality piece worth thousands of dollars because it didn't come in a Tiffany box. Rachel cherished a $20 pendant because of what it meant and the fact that I'd made it specifically for her. Rachel asked me once why I worked with wood instead of something easier, something more profitable, like metalwork or sculpture. I told her the truth. Wood has a memory. Every piece tells a story through its grain, its flaws, the way it grew. She looked at me with an expression I'd never seen from Chloe, like she actually understood. She said, "That's exactly why your work matters. In a world of mass-produced garbage designed to fall apart, you're making things that will outlive all of us." She understood that what I did wasn't just about making furniture or boxes. It was about creating something permanent, something real, something that connected people to the natural world and to the human hands that shaped it. 6 months after my studio opened, I had a waiting list of clients stretching into the next year, 3 galleries carrying my work regularly, and enough commissions to keep me busy and profitable indefinitely. I hired an assistant to help with basic tasks, sanding, finishing, material prep, allowing me to focus on design and the detailed carving that made each piece unique. Rachel's marketing had turned my craft into a sustainable business, and she'd done it without changing what made the work special, without pushing me to mass produce or cut corners or compromise my standards. We'd started dating officially by then, though it felt like we'd been together much longer, like we'd skipped all the awkward early relationship stuff and gone straight to being partners who understood each other. I made Rachel a jewelry box for her birthday. Spent 2 months on it. Figured maple with ebony inlays, a pattern like branches reaching across the surface. It had the same hidden compartments as the one I'd made for Chloe, but this one felt completely different while I was making it. It felt like joy instead of obligation, like I was creating something for someone who would genuinely appreciate every detail. When I gave it to her, she opened every compartment carefully, taking her time, finding the little treasures I'd hidden inside. A ticket stub from a museum we'd visited, a dried flower from a walk in the park, a small sketch she'd made of my hands while I was working. She cried, told me she'd never received anything so beautiful. And I believed her, because I saw it in her face, that genuine appreciation for the work and the thought behind it. Chloe tried to reach out one more time. A long email about how she'd been wrong, how she'd realized what she lost, how she wanted another chance to prove she could be different. I read it once and deleted it. She'd had her chance, hundreds of them, actually, over 3 years. And she'd spent all of them making me feel like I wasn't enough, like my work didn't matter, like I should be grateful she put up with my little hobby. Rachel never made me feel that way. Never once suggested that what I did was anything less than important and meaningful. She saw value where Chloe saw junk. She saw an artist where Chloe saw a failed corporate employee. She saw a future where Chloe saw a waste of time and potential. Looking back now, that Christmas morning, when Chloe threw my work in the trash, was the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to stop accepting being treated like I didn't matter. It forced me to put my work out there for people who would actually appreciate it. And ultimately, it led me to someone who saw me for who I actually was, instead of who she wanted me to be. Chloe lost me the moment she threw that jewelry box away. But she didn't just lose a boyfriend. She lost someone who would have made her life more beautiful, more meaningful, more real. Rachel didn't just help me build a business. She helped me build a life worth living. One where my work mattered. And I mattered. And that's worth more than any price tag could ever show. After hearing my story, I have to ask, Have you ever had a moment where someone's dismissal of your passion actually propelled you forward? Or maybe, what's the most valuable junk you've ever created or been given? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear your take.